We're going to cover some tips and insights when you're using the Bryan search. Again, a Bryan search's properties are bought under the following three conditions. They were bought in the same radius as the subject property, approximately the same year as the subject property, and about the same amount. However, now other ones have re-entered the marketplace. So the Bryan comp is not dependent upon style. A ranch and a two-story, you're going to see in here, it's all right. It's not that big of a deal. In traditional comps, you have to find properties that are the same style. They're called style-based comps. And Bryan comps, again, are dependent upon they were bought for around the same dollar amount in the same year as the subject property, and they were purchased around, again, same dollar amount, same year, and the same radius. Right? So let's go ahead and look at a Bryan report that I have open. And you can see that these properties meet that criteria. They're in the same vicinity as the subject property, right? But you can see they're different styles. We have a consistent rate of return. For the most part, we're looking at 1.5% to 2% return on these properties. But we have an anomaly in here. Somebody who's losing almost 1% per year. There might be something wrong with this property, because as we look at this data, everybody was making money on their property. And this says the value is around $390,000 or so. And so we've eliminated this one here at 0.87%. It takes their value down to $384,000. In the end, it could be right. This property could be worth about that, and we've actually projected the value to be around in the mid-380s. And incidentally, this property is pending at the moment. They were asking $415, dropped the price to $405, and then went under contract shortly thereafter. Probably around a projected price of $385,000 to $390,000. What an amazing coincidence, isn't it? Sight unseen, you could determine the value of the property. However, we're thinking about eliminating this outlier. As we look at this property report on Forest Valley, we notice that this agent has no remarks at all. What's up with that? What's wrong with the situation here? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Go down to the agent remarks section. It too is missing all the remarks. And it's like, why did that agent not put them in here? Every other MLS printout has that information in it. I don't know if this was a short sale or foreclosure, but for some reason, it's been removed, all that information. So we can't verify why this property lost 1% per year since 1999 up until 2012. Something had to go wrong for this property to go from 330 to 294, well over a decade. If they had bought in 2006 and were reselling in 2012, 2013, this was almost guaranteed to be this kind of a loss or worse per year. But they had a lot of good years in here, 99 all the way through 2005, parts of 2006, some real strong growth. How do we know that? Because all these other ones were purchased around that time, and they all experienced growth every single years, even the years of depreciation didn't wipe all their money out, except this property. So how do you determine you do not want to check a particular property? Generally look for an outlier. Things don't make any sense. Why would that property have such a low return? Or in this case, why this one have such a high return? It's the only property on here over 3%. Now this one here is close to 3%. And what we've studied already is these properties, if we remove them around 3%, our value is still $383,000. What we discovered when we studied these is these properties did a lot of capital improvements, more than the typical person. So it's interesting. Those that gained a lot, had a high rate of return, did a lot of capital improvements, and the one that probably went foreclosure, short sale, lost a lot of money. Everybody else was in a pretty tight range as a rate of return. It's not a perfect science, but I can share with you our goal is to get you close to the value of the property. We're not saying in the end that the value of the property was $383,341. We're trying to give you a ballpark to help the seller eliminate the time wasted at a much higher price, because the higher price is simply statistically trying to outperform the marketplace. So whenever you see numbers that are either way above or way below, we simply suggest that you don't check the box. And then down below, it affects the value. You see, by unchecking that, we went from $383,000 to $385,000. Let's uncheck another one here. We're still at $385,000. Check another one. We're still approximately that same value. $383,000. $389,000. So this formula keeps putting this value in the $380-something thousand range. And if you say, but what if I don't have enough data at all? There's only one record up here. That's why we give you properties in every status. For example, active listings. We show you the attempted rate of return. We don't allow you to check any boxes down here, but you can see that down here the growth rate is under 2%, and all the actives are asking 2%. You say, well, are they right or are they wrong? Well, we know that they've been out there for 2 months, half a year, a few months, and they're still not getting a number. Why? They should probably be below 2% rate of return. And of course, if you're looking for more data, because there's not enough solds, you can look to the failed listings. You can see they bought around the same year, about the same date, for about the same amount, so that they are Bryan comps. We don't really mind what style they are. All right, different styles. We just want to see where people invested their money around the same date, same time, etc. And we can see these properties. This one's asking 3.24%, in a marketplace returning 1.85. Now these people were underperforming and still didn't sell. Way over asking the area rate of return about it, but they still didn't sell. Again, they were asking, for the most part, more than the average rate of return in the area. We have another way to look at it, and again, that's the price per square foot. Used to be in this range, and people are starting to ask in this range. You can see there's no pattern whatsoever as to what the price per square foot should be. These are all houses in approximately, look at this, $297 versus $308. $161 a square foot, $121 a square foot. $121, down here we have $106 a square foot. These are all 2 stories, all 3-car garage. All of these are lots almost exactly the same, and we're seeing quite a disparity in the price per square foot. Price per square foot is a very challenging thing to determine value or to defend it. But we use it so often because it's one of the easiest numbers. We're simply using 2 sets of sale prices or attempted sale prices. And we look at the square footage, we look at the difference between these and what the appreciation rate is, and we really invented, if you will, a new way to look at the properties, projected values, and how to determine. A lot of this is helping you determine what they are not. Of course, we want to determine what they are, but it's easier to prove to people what they are not than what they are when it comes to value. Failed listings is one of the most important things that we can have you take a look at to prove what you can't do and what you are not. Just to recap though, this video specifically was about which properties should you check and not check to come up with a value. And if you do not have enough data to check, we do suggest you come down to these other statuses and look at their attempted rates of return. Thanks for watching.